Right. So yeah, immigration is like the biggest story out there right now,
Yeah,
right?
huge.
It's everywhere, and it's really heating up in Chicago in particular.
Yeah.
Um, and, with President-elect Trump naming Tom Homan as his border czar,
Right.
well, let's just say he's not exactly mincing words.
No, no, he's not.
So we found this article from CBS Chicago, and it's all about Homan's plans for, well, basically a major crackdown on undocumented immigrants in Chicago.
Sounds intense.
It is. It really is. I mean, just to give you a sense of the tone here, Homan actually called the mayor and the governor, well, he said they suck.
Wow.
Yeah, like straight up. Not exactly diplomatic language.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty strong language, for someone in his position.
So obviously he's not afraid of making a statement. But what's the strategy here, besides just trying to get a reaction?
Well, I think a few things are at play here. First, he's trying to establish dominance. Show that he's in charge and that he's serious about this. He's sending a message to anyone who might oppose him, including local officials.
Okay, so it's like a power move.
Exactly. It's like saying, I'm calling the shots now.
So what does that mean practically speaking? Like, what can he actually do?
Well, as borders are, he'll have a lot of influence over immigration enforcement policies.
Mhm.
He can direct resources, set priorities, that sort of thing. And he's already made it clear that his top priority is going to be deportations. Specifically, he's talking about launching a huge deportation operation right after Trump takes office.
The article mentions January 20th, like the day after the inauguration.
Yeah. And they're saying it could be the biggest deportation operation in U.S. history, which is, a pretty huge deal.
Wow.
And he's specifically targeting sanctuary cities, Chicago being obviously one of the most prominent ones.
Right. And for our listeners who may not be totally familiar with the term, what exactly is a sanctuary city?
Basically, it's a city that limits its cooperation with federal immigration enforcement.
So they're kind of protecting undocumented immigrants from deportation.
Yeah. They're trying to create a safe haven, hence the name.
And Homan is obviously not a fan.
Not at all. He sees it as a direct challenge to his authority.
But I'm noticing, like, he's not just going in guns blazing all the time. The article mentions that he is calling for cooperation with local law enforcement.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? He's like offering a carrot and brandishing a stick at the same time.
So, like, work with me or else.
Pretty much. And it puts local officials in a tough spot.
For sure. So what do you think is going to happen? Will Chicago cave under the pressure, or will they try to fight back?
It's hard to say for sure. Legally, sanctuary cities are kind of operating in a gray area.
How so?
Well, federal law requires cooperation with immigration enforcement, but cities argue that they have the right to prioritize their own resources and public safety.
So it's like a tug of war between federal power and states' rights.
Exactly. And it's been playing out in courts for years with no clear resolution.
Interesting. And what about Mayor Johnson? I mean, he hasn't really said anything publicly about all this.
That's right. And I think it's important to note that silence can be a strategy, too.
You mean like he's waiting to see how things play out?
Maybe. It could be that he's consulting with legal experts, figuring out his options.
Right. Or maybe he's just trying to avoid escalating the situation.
Could be. It's a high-stakes game, and every move matters. But either way, the stakes are incredibly high. Not just politically, but for real people's lives.
Definitely. I mean, imagine what this could mean for Chicago's immigrant communities. We're talking about families being separated, businesses losing workers. It's going to be chaotic.
Absolutely. And the economic impact could be huge. Undocumented immigrants contribute a lot to the city's economy.
In so many ways, yeah.
Think about restaurants, construction, all sorts of industries that rely on their labor. Taking that away could have serious consequences.
And beyond the economics, what about the social fabric of Chicago? I mean, this is a city built by immigrants.
That's right. It's always been a melting pot, a place where different cultures come together. And that's part of what makes Chicago so special. So yeah, this deportation operation could really change the character of the city.
For sure. It's not just about immigration policy. It's about what kind of city, what kind of country we want to be. It's about our values.
Exactly. Do we want to be a place that welcomes immigrants and celebrates diversity, or do we want to turn our backs on them?
Big questions, and unfortunately, no easy answers.
Nope. But it's important to have these conversations, to think critically about what's happening and what it means for all of us.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot today. We've talked about the power struggle between the feds and local governments, the legal complexities of sanctuary cities, and the very real human consequences of all this.
And don't forget the economic impact.
Right, right. The economic impact, too. So as this story develops, keep in mind that there's a lot more to it than just the headlines.
Yeah, there's always more to the story.
There are real people involved, real lives that are going to be affected. So think about that and stay informed, because this is going to be a defining moment for Chicago and maybe for the whole country.
It really is.
All right, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon to cover more of the biggest stories.
Until then, stay engaged.
And stay informed.
Absolutely. See you next time.
See ya.